Hello friends, welcome to lecture number 8 of unit number 3, Public Key Infrastructure and Cryptography. Myself Nikul Jaiswal, lecturer in Computer Engineering, Sri KG Polytechnic, Bharuch. So let's quick recap of our previous lecture. So in the previous lectures, we have discussed what is the public key encryption and decryption. So public key encryption and decryption is also called as the asymmetric key because we use different keys for the encryption and decryption. So basically for the encryption, we use the public key of receiver, and for the decryption, the receiver will use the uh, private key of receiver. So this mechanism will also provide the confidentiality and authentication. So for the confidentiality, if the sender want to send the information, confidential information, then he will encrypt the data with the receiver's public key, and it will send the data to a receiver. Now the what the receiver will do, receiver will decrypt the data with its private key. So this is how the confidentiality will be provided in the public key infrastructure. Now, for the authentication, what the sender will do? The sender will encrypt the data with its private key, sender's private key, and it will send the data to the receiver, and the receiver will decrypt the data with the help of sender's public key. So this is how the authentication will be provided by the PKI. We can also provide the confidentiality and authentication both with the help of public key infrastructure. So to do that, what the sender will do is, first of all, it will encrypt the data with the sender's private key, and again, he will again encrypt the data with the receiver's public key. Now, what the receiver will do? The receiver will decrypt the data. First decryption will be done through receiver's private key, and the second decryption will be done by the sender's public key. So this is how the confidentiality and authentication both can be provided by the public key infrastructure. Now today we will see the most major important topic of this unit, that is called as a hashing. So first of all we will start with the introduction of the hashing. Then after we will see what is the hash function and how the hash function will work. After that we will see what is the properties of the hash function, and after that we will discuss the application of the cryptographic hash function. So let's start with the first, that is introduction to hashing. Now normally we use the hash function to provide the integrity. Now what is the meaning of integrity? So integrity ensures that unauthorized modification will not be done. So integrity normally provide the unauthorized modification of the information. So basically it will not provide the it will not what we can say, uh, it will prevent the unauthorized modification. That means if any unauthorized modification will be done, the receiver will come to know that the unauthorized modification will be done. So uh, we can tell that hashing will not hashing is not able to prevent the unauthorized modification. Unauthorized modification can be done on the public internet, but we should aware that unauthorized modification has been done. So hashing will provide the information that the unauthorized modification has done or not. If any unauthorized modification is done in between the transmission of the information, that the receiver will come to know that unauthorized modification has been done in transmission. So this will be provided by the hashing. So hashing will help us to know the integrity, to maintain the integrity constraint. So hash function take a message of arbitrary length as input and generate a fixed length digest as the output. So what the hashing will do? Hashing will The hash function will take the message as an input, and it will generate the fixed length digest or fixed length value of the that message. Now if the message changes, the hash value will be changed. Clear? So the length of the digest depend on the function used. So but in general the length of the digest will be 128 and 256 bit. So the output of the hash function, the length of the output of the hash function will be in between the 128 and 256 bits depending on the depending on the what hash function is used. So it ensures the integrity of the message or of the downloaded file by attaching the generated digest to the message itself. So normally what we do is we take the information or the message, we take the message as an input to the hash function. Hash function will generate the fixed length output. Now that output will be attached with the information. Clear. And at the receiver side, what the receiver will do is the receiver will again calculate the hash value, and it will compare the hash value, calculated hash value, with the received hash value. So the receiver recomputes the digest using the received message and compares it against the digest generated by the sender. So what the sender will do, first of all, the sender will take the message, it will give the message input in the hash function, it will generate the output, and it will attach that output with the actual message. Now what the receiver will do, receiver will receive the message with the hash value. Now the receiver will recompute the hash value, and that hash value will be compared with the received hash value. Now if the received hash value and recomputed hash value matches, that means the unauthorized modification has not been done. So this is the normal basic diagram of the hash function. So in the hash function, we will take the message as an input. So you can see here, this is the message or data block, and this is the length of the message. So this will store the length of whole message. So this will be our input, message plus the length of the message. We will give the input in the hash function, this message, and the output will be a hash value. So this will be a fixed length message or the fixed length hash value. That hash value will be generated by the hashing function. Now if the message changes, the hash value will be changed. Clear? So if any unauthorized modification done in the transmission of the message, then receiver will come to know by comparing the hash value of the received message by recomputing the hash value of the message. So this is how the hash function will work. So hash function is normally a one way, normally nahi, but it must be a one way hash. So it is also called as a one way hash function. So a one way hash function that takes a variable length of message and produces a fixed length value called a hash value. So normally hash function will take the input as a message, and it will generate the hash value as the output. So if Alice want to send message to Bob, she would calculate a hash value for the message and append it to the message itself. So let's suppose Alice want to send some message to Bob. So what the Alice will do, it will calculate the hash value, it will attach that hash value to the message, and it will send that message and the hash value to the Bob. Now what the Bob will do, when the Bob receive the message, he perform the same hashing function Alice used and then compare the result with the hash value sent with the message. So what the Bob will do, Bob will receive the message. So Bob will receive hash value and the message. So it will take the hash value and it will recalculate the hash value by the hash function, and it will get the hash value by recomputing the message. Now Bob will compare the received hash value and the calculated hash value, and if both the hash values are the same, then the meaning of that is no unauthorized modification has been done in the message. So let's see how the hash function will work. Now let's suppose this is the sender and this is the receiver. Now the sender will take the plain text or the any message. First of all, it will take the input as a message in hash function. It will calculate the hash. So this will the hash function, and it will calculate the hash value. Now this is the fixed length hash value of this message. Now what the sender will do, it will take the message and it will attach the hash value to that message. So attachment will be done. So what we are going to send is, we will send the message also, and we will send the hash value also with the message. So we will attach the our message and hash value. Now we will send this message and hash value to the receiver side. Now what the receiver will do is, it will separate the message and hash value. Clear? So what the sender will do, it will send the hash value and the message and the receive what the receiver will do, it will separate the message and hash value. Now what the receiver will do is, receiver will again calculate the hash value for the message. Clear? So both the hash function must be same. Let's suppose if I use the MD5 hash function here, then same hash function will be used by the receiver, and again the receiver will calculate the hash value. So this is the hash value that has been calculated by the sender, and this is the hash value that has been calculated by the receiver. Now what the receiver will do is, it will compare both these hash value, that means received hash value and recalculated hash value. Now if both the hash values are the same, then the receiver will conclude that unauthorized modification has not been done. Clear? Now if the unauthorized modification has not been done, then the receiver will accept the message and save the message. Clear? Now this will be the sender side. So this operation will be done at the sender side, this operation will be done at the receiver side, and this will be our transmission media. Clear? So normally it will be internet. Now let's suppose any unauthorized modification has been done in between the transmission of the file. Clear? Now if this case happens, then the received hash value and the calculated hash value will not be matched. Clear? So if both the hash values are different, then the receiver will conclude that the unauthorized modification has been done with the message, and it will not consider that message. So this is how the hash function will work. First of all, we will take the message as an input in hash function. The hash function will calculate the hash value. That hash value will be attached with the message, and we will send the message and the hash value to the receiver. Now receiver will separate the message and hash value. It will again recalculate the hash value, and recalculated hash value and the received hash value will be matched. If the matching is if both the value has been matched, then the receiver will come to know that unauthorized modification has not been done. So this will be the property of the hash function. Clear? If the message changes, the hash value will definitely change. Clear? And if any unauthorized modification has been done, then the recalculated hash value and the received hash value will not be same, and receiver will conclude that any unauthorized modification has been done in the message. So this is how the whole hashing process will work. Now let's discuss the properties of the hash function. So whenever we create any new hash function, these properties must be there in the new hash function. So first property of the hash function is, it must be very easy to compute the hash value for any given message. So if we have any length of message or any message, it must be easy to calculate the hash value by the hash function for the any given message. That must be a first property. Second is, it is infeasible to generate a message from given hash function. So we need to generate a hash function in such a way that the reverse process must not be happen. That means if I have a hash value, then I must not be able to generate the actual message by using the hash value. Then third property is, it is infeasible to modify message without changing the hash value. So it must not be possible to, that means the if I change the message and the hash value must be changed. Clear? So if I change the message and hash value does not change, that scenario should not be happen in hash function. And the last is, it is infeasible to find two different messages with the same hash. So we need to generate a hash function such a way that for the two different messages, hash value must not be same. So these are the major properties of the hash function. The first is, it must be easy to compute the hash value. Second is, it is infeasible to generate the message from given hash value. That means if I have a hash value of some message, then it must not be possible to regenerate the message with the help of hash value. Then it is infeasible to modify message without changing the hash. That means two different if I change the message, then the hash value must be changed. That must be a scenario. And fourth is it must be infeasible to find the two different message with the same hash value. So for the two different message, the hash value must be different. So for the two different message, two hash value must not be possible. So application of the cryptographic hash function, so verification of the integrity of the file. So if I want to check whether the unauthorized modification has not been is been done or not, that can be checked by the hash function. Then password verification. Now most of the new operating system, Windows operating system or Linux operating system, they do not they do not store the password, system password as a plain text. Actually, they store the password as a hash function, hash values. So most of the major operating systems now do not store the password as a plain text, but they calculate the hash value and the hash value of the password, and that hash value will be saved in the system. File or data identifier. So to identify the particular file or data, we use the hash functions. And pseudo random generation and key derivation, we will see how the random numbers can be generated. So to generate the random numbers and the key derivations, we can use the cryptographic hash function. So these are the hash functions, different hash function that has been used in the cryptographic environment. First is SHA-1, that is also called as a secure hash algorithm. SHA-1, then SHA-512, then MD5 and Whirlpool. So these are the hash functions that we are using in cryptographic hash function. So we will see SHA-1 in detail in next lecture. So this was all about the introduction to hashing and application of the hashing and the working of hash function. I hope you did understand all the topics that has been discussed in this video lecture. Thank you so much.